My own mother stole my dream job and gave it to my sister. You're a single mom. It wasn't right for you. But she didn't expect me to fight back. And when I did, she lost everything. The phone vibrated. We got a request from your mother. She said you turned down the job. I froze. Every blood vessel in my body felt like it was about to burst. I am Rebecca Wilson, 32 years old, a financial expert and a resilient single mother. But in just 2 minutes, my mother destroyed my career. And I had no idea. Declined? I pressed the phone harder against my ear. I never declined. My own voice sounded far away. The HR rep on the other end of the line, a man named James Collins, hesitated. I could hear papers shuffling, the faint clicking of a keyboard. The request came from Eleanor Wilson. She stated she was handling it on your behalf due to family circumstances. Family circumstances. The words tasted like acid. I didn't authorize that. My voice hardened. That position was mine. Another pause. A sigh. I'm really sorry, Ms. Wilson. The role has already been filled, gone. Just like that, I gripped the edge of the table, my nails digging into the wood. My breathing turned shallow, my stomach twisting so violently I thought I might throw up. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. But it was. Samantha, my 10-year-old daughter, sat at the kitchen table a few feet away happily scribbling in her sketchbook, oblivious to the fact that my world had just been ripped apart. The morning sun filtered through the window, catching the golden highlights in her brown hair. A peaceful scene. A normal morning, and yet nothing was normal anymore. I squeezed my eyes shut. Who took the job? Another pause, then a quiet answer. Vanessa Wilson, my sister. A sharp burning sensation shot up my spine. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like I was free falling. I didn't even say goodbye. The phone clattered onto the table as I stumbled back, my legs nearly giving out beneath me. She stole it. She stole everything. I wasn't sure how long I stood there staring blankly at the floor before I heard Samantha's small voice, "Mom?" I looked up. She had stopped drawing, her big brown eyes filled with concern. I forced a breath. Forced a smile. I need to go see Grandma. For the first time in years, I had felt like I was winning. After a decade of struggling, of working late shifts, of surviving on caffeine and sheer willpower, I had finally made it. I had earned my way into one of the top investment firms in the city, Bradford Capital. It wasn't handed to me. It wasn't some favor. I had fought for this. Night school, part-time jobs, juggling, finances, daycare, deadlines. There were nights I cried from exhaustion, mornings I woke up feeling like I had nothing left to give, but I never stopped. Mornings I woke up feeling like I had nothing left to give. But I never stopped because I couldn't stop. Samantha depended on me. So when I got the call, when I heard the words, "Congratulations, Rebecca, we'd love to have you on board," I felt something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. Pride, relief, hope. And now it was gone. The drive to my mother's house was a blur. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. Samantha sat in the passenger seat, her legs swinging, completely unaware of the storm raging inside me. "I made Grandma a picture," she said, holding up a folded piece of paper. I swallowed, forced my hands to relax. "I'm sure she'll love it." That was a lie. Eleanor Wilson was not the kind of grandmother who loved things. She tolerated. She judged. She dissected every flaw with the precision of a surgeon, always making sure you knew exactly how you had disappointed her. Growing up, I had tried so hard to make her proud. Straight A's, scholarships, working 2 jobs in college, it was never enough. Then Vanessa came along. And suddenly I became invisible. My mother adored my younger sister, protected her, spoiled her. While I was out busting my ass to build a future, Vanessa was still living at home, unemployed, letting Mom foot the bill. And now? Now she had my job. My mother's house loomed ahead. A pristine 2-story colonial in one of Philadelphia's nicer neighborhoods. It looked perfect from the outside. Looks were deceiving. I pulled into the driveway and shut off the engine. Samantha was still humming. Completely unaware of the war about to unfold, I turned to her. Sweetheart, I need you to stay in the car for a minute, okay? She frowned. Why? I reached over and tucked a stray curl behind her ear. I just need to talk to Grandma. It won't take long. Samantha hesitated, then nodded. Okay. I stepped out of the car. Every muscle in my body was coiled tight, my nerves electric. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it. I rang the doorbell. The seconds stretched. Then the door swung open. Vanessa. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, a smug smile curving her lips. Well, she drawled. Big sis, what a surprise. Something inside me snapped. Where's Mom? I asked, my voice cold. Vanessa stepped back lazily. Living room. I didn't wait for an invitation. I pushed past her, the air in the house thick with the scent of expensive perfume and fresh coffee. Everything looked the same, neat, orderly, elegant. But everything had changed. And then I saw her. My mother sat on the couch, perfectly composed, flipping through a magazine, as if she hadn't just set fire to my life. She glanced up and smiled. Rebecca, what a surprise. I stared at her, my blood roaring in my ears. What did you do? My voice was deadly quiet. She sighed, setting the magazine aside. I assume you're here about the job? I took a step forward, fists clenched. You had no right. I had every right, she said calmly. I spoke to Robert Blackwell myself. Vanessa is a better fit. My laugh was sharp, humorless. She has no experience, no degree, she doesn't even know how to balance a goddamn checkbook. Vanessa snorted. Relax, sis. It's just a job. Just a job. I turned back to my mother. How could you? My voice cracked. Eleanor stood, smoothed out her skirt. Because, Rebecca, you're a single mother. This job would have been too much for you. Late nights, high stress. It's not a good fit for someone like you. I stared at her, my breath catching in my throat. Someone like me. It wasn't just about the job. It was about me. She had never believed in me. Not when I got into college. Not when I worked 2 jobs. Not when I built a life for myself. And she never would. I took a slow step back. My whole body was trembling. Vanessa smirked. My mother simply watched as if waiting for me to accept it. But I wouldn't. I turned on my heel and walked out. I barely made it to my car before the first tear fell. It burned down my cheek hot with rage, humiliation, and something deeper. A betrayal so sharp it made my chest ache. I yanked the door open, slid into the driver's seat, and gripped the wheel. My hands were shaking. My body was trembling. I hated them. Not just for what they had done, but for the way they had looked at me, like I was a child throwing a tantrum. Like they had done me a favor by ripping away everything I had worked for. Vanessa's smirk, my mother's cold measured tone. Too much for someone like you? The words clawed at my ribs, making it hard to breathe. A sharp knock on the passenger window made me jump. Samantha. I forced my hands to relax and wipe my face before unlocking the door. She climbed in clutching her drawing, her big brown eyes scanning my face. Mom? Are you okay? No. Nothing about this was okay. But I turned to her, forcing my expression into something steady, something strong. She didn't need to carry this weight. This was mine. I'm fine, sweetheart. My voice was hoarse. I cleared my throat, turned the key in the ignition. Let's go home. I drove on autopilot. I wasn't even sure how I got back to our apartment. Everything felt unreal, like I had stepped into someone else's nightmare. One minute I had everything I had ever wanted. The next my own mother had erased me from my future. I dropped my keys on the counter, my mind already racing. I couldn't let this happen. I wouldn't. I grabbed my phone and dialed Bradford Capital's HR department voicemail. I tried again. Same result. I gritted my teeth and called the direct line for James Collins, the HR rep who had called me earlier. This time he picked up. Ms. Wilson, he sounded hesitant. I cut straight to the point. You need to fix this. A pause. Fix what? My mother had no right to speak on my behalf, I said, barely containing my fury. She lied. I never withdrew from the position. That job was mine. I earned it. Another pause. A longer one. I'm sorry, Ms. Wilson, he said, his voice tight. The decision came from upper management. The role has been filled. A sharp pain stabbed through my chest. By Vanessa, who has no experience, no degree, no qualifications. A sigh. Look, I understand why you're upset. No, I snapped. You don't. If you did, you wouldn't be letting my unqualified sister waltz into a job that I spent years working toward. Miss Wilson, does Robert Blackwell know about this? I cut him off. Another silence that told me everything I needed to know. My mother had used her connections. She had convinced someone high enough in the company to overrule my application. A fresh wave of fury surged through me. This wasn't just personal. This was corruption. James exhaled heavily. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. My throat closed up, but I forced myself to speak. Fine. My voice was eerily calm. Then I'll handle it myself. I hung up. James Collins wouldn't help me. That was clear. But I didn't need him. I spent the next 4 hours researching every financial analyst opening within a 50-mile radius. Bradford Capital was the best of the best, but I was qualified. I could land something else. I had to. But every job listing I read felt like a knife twisting in my gut. Because none of them were Bradford, none of them were the career-defining opportunity I had fought so hard. I took a shuddering breath, rubbing my temples. This wasn't working. I needed another plan. I glanced at the clock, 8:42 p.m. Samantha was in her room, humming softly to herself. I grabbed my phone. Jessica picked up on the second ring. Rebecca. Her voice was groggy. You okay? I swallowed. I need a favor. Jessica had been my best friend since college. She knew how hard I had worked for this job, and she also knew exactly what my mother and Vanessa were like. I took a deep breath. I need you to help me get in touch with Robert Blackwell. That woke her up. The CEO of Bradford? She repeated, disbelief in her voice. Yes. Jesus, Rebecca, why? I exhaled. Then I told her everything. The phone was silent for a long moment after I finished. Then Jessica cursed loudly. Jesus, that's illegal, or at least highly unethical. Exactly, I said grimly, and I need someone to help me get in front of him. Jessica was quiet again. Then finally, I might know someone. My stomach flipped. Seriously? My cousin works in PR, she said. Sometimes she does consulting for Bradford's corporate team. I'll call her. But Rebecca, she hesitated. I knew that tone. What? Jessica sighed. If you go after your mother and sister like this, there's no coming back from it. I stared at the floor. There was nothing to come back to. I don't care, I said quietly. I just want what's mine. Another pause. Then, okay, Jessica said. I'll make the call. It happened faster than I expected. The next morning, I got a text from Jessica. Blackwell's office agreed to meet you. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Good luck. My pulse roared in my ears. This was it. My one shot. I inhaled sharply, stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. My mother had stolen my future. Now I was going to take it back. No matter what it took, I walked into Bradford Capital like a storm ready to hit. The glass doors slid open silently and the cool blast of AC hit my face. The scent of expensive cologne, freshly brewed coffee, and polished wood filled the air. I should have been here a week ago as an employee, not as a woman fighting to take back what was stolen from her. I clutched my purse tighter, my knuckles white. My heart pounded, but my steps were steady. I had one shot. One chance to make this right. Jessica's cousin had pulled through. Somehow, she had arranged a meeting with Robert Blackwell himself, the CEO, the man who could either undo my mother's deception or send me right back out the door. I wasn't leaving without a fight. The receptionist led me into a sleek conference room, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a long mahogany table, chairs that probably cost more than my rent. I sat down, back straight, hands folded, a battle-ready soldier. Minutes crawled by. I kept my breathing steady, but my mind raced. What if he doesn't believe me? What if he already knows, but doesn't care? What if this was a mistake? No. I couldn't think like that. I had the truth. The facts. My mother and Vanessa had screwed up the second they thought they could replace me with a fraud. And I was about to make sure everyone knew it. The door opened. Robert Blackwell stepped inside. He was taller than I expected. Late 50s, sharp suit, silver-streaked hair. The kind of man who didn't waste time on pleasantries. He sat across from me, folding his hands on the table. His eyes piercing, unreadable, locked onto mine. "Ms. Wilson," he said, "I've been expecting you." His voice sent a shiver down my spine. I forced myself to meet his gaze. "Thank you for seeing me." Blackwell leaned back slightly, his expression unreadable. "I agreed to this meeting out of curiosity. Your situation is unusual." Unusual, that was one way to put it. I swallowed the bitterness rising in my throat. "I'll get straight to the point." My voice was calm, steady. My mother impersonated me. She had no legal right to withdraw my acceptance. And Vanessa is completely unqualified for this position. The fact that she was hired under my credentials is, at best, fraud, at worst, corporate negligence. Blackwell didn't blink. I continued. I had the emails, the phone records, everything to prove that this was done without my consent. Still, he remained silent. A nerve in my temple throbbed. Was I wasting my time? Then, finally, he exhaled. "I know." The words hit me like a slap. I blinked. "You. What?" Blackwell steepled his fingers. "Vanessa was given special consideration, a favor to an old friend." My stomach twisted. "Eleanor." "She used her connections to get her daughter in. She assured me Vanessa was just as capable as you." He paused. "She lied." I clenched my jaw. "So you knew she wasn't qualified?" "I suspected," he admitted, "but I didn't realize how deep the deception ran until today." He slid a folder across the table. I opened it. And what I saw nearly made me laugh. Vanessa's work. It was a disaster. Financial reports riddled with errors. A client presentation that looked like it had been thrown together by a bored intern. My idiot sister had walked into Bradford Capital with zero experience and tanked within a week. I looked up. "So what now?" Blackwell's expression hardened. "I'm terminating her immediately." A sharp exhale left my lips, relief. But it wasn't enough. "I want my job," I said firmly. "The one I rightfully earned." His brows lifted slightly. "You don't want compensation?" "I don't want hush money. I want what's mine." A beat of silence, then a slow nod. "You start Monday." My mother's house never felt like home, and as I stood in front of it later that evening, I felt nothing but cold, detached rage. I knocked. Seconds later, the door opened. Eleanor stood there, wine glass in hand, her perfectly manicured nails gleaming under the chandelier light. She blinked at me. "Rebecca." Her voice was smooth as if she hadn't single-handedly tried to destroy my life. I pushed past her, storming into the living room. "Where's Vanessa?" I scoff. "Is that how you greet your mother?" I turned, dead-eyed, unforgiving. "I just came from Bradford Capital." The glass nearly slipped from her fingers. For the first time she looked afraid. "What?" "Vanessa's been fired," I said flatly. "Your little scam?" Over. Vanessa appeared at the top of the stairs, still in her silk pajamas. "What the hell are you doing here?" she snapped. I crossed my arms. "You embarrassed yourself. Blackwell saw right through you. You were gone before you even started." Her face twisted. "I just needed time to learn." "No. You needed to earn it." Eleanor finally found her voice. "Rebecca, listen." "No, you listen." I took a step forward, my heart hammering. "You tried to erase me. You stole my future. But guess what? I'm back." Vanessa's lip curled. "You're being dramatic." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You think this is over?" I turned to Eleanor. "Your reputation? Blackwell knows everything. Every contact you have in the industry will know exactly what kind of person you are. Panic flickered across her face. For the first time in my life, I saw my mother scared. I stepped closer. Lowered my voice. I needed to know, Mom, I whispered. Was it worth it? Was she worth it? Eleanor swallowed hard. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. I turned and walked out, my head held high. Vanessa shouted something behind me, but I didn't care. I walked out of my mother's house and never looked back. The cold night air hit my face, sharp and clean, as if the universe itself was wiping away the filth I had just walked through. My heels clicked against the pavement, each step a declaration. I was done. Done with them. Done being used. Done being betrayed. The weight on my chest lifted. For the first time in years, I could breathe. News of Vanessa's firing spread fast. By Monday morning, Eleanor's entire social circle knew. The woman who had spent her whole life carefully crafting an image of power, prestige, and influence was suddenly exposed. And the best part? She had done it to herself.